Hello, history fans. Welcome back to 5-Point Historian. Today we feel safe when we go to the hospital. We have clean tools, smart doctors, and medicine that stops the pain. But 700 years ago, a trip to the doctor was more terrifying than the disease itself. In the Middle Ages, doctors didn't know about germs or anatomy. They used religion, stars, and very sharp knives to cure people. Today, we are exploring 5 reasons you should never visit a medieval doctor. We will look at real stories of brave patients and the strange, painful methods of the past. Before we look at these terrifying medical facts, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share these incredible stories from the past. Now let's start with the most common and most bloody treatment of all. 1. Bloodletting, the universal and deadly solution. If you walked into a doctor's office in the year 1350 with a headache, a fever, or even a broken heart, the doctor would say the same thing every time. You have too much blood. We must take it out. This was called bloodletting, and for over 1,000 years it was the most popular medical treatment in the world. The theory of the 4 humors. Medieval doctors believed the human body was filled with 4 liquids called humors: blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. They believed that if you were sick, these liquids were not balanced. Usually they thought you had too much blood. To fix this, they would cut your arm with a small knife called a phleem and let the blood flow into a bowl. If they didn't want to use a knife, they would put hundreds of hungry leeches on your skin to suck the blood out. The real story, the death of George Washington, the tradition lives on. Although he lived later, George Washington is the most famous victim of this medieval thinking. In 1799, he had a very bad throat infection. His doctors, still using medieval methods, took out nearly 40% of his blood in just 24 hours. He became so weak that his heart simply stopped. In the Middle Ages, thousands of people died exactly like this. They weren't killed by their illness. They were killed by the doctor who was trying to balance their liquids. Imagine being sick and weak, and then a doctor comes to take away the one thing keeping you alive. 2. Barber-surgeons, haircuts and amputations. When you think of a surgeon today, you imagine a person who studied for 10 years in a university. But in the Middle Ages, if you needed a surgery, you didn't go to university. You went to the local barber shop. Yes, the same man who cut your hair and trimmed your beard was the man who would cut off your leg. The division of medicine. At that time, real doctors, the ones who studied books, thought that touching blood and skin was dirty work. They only wanted to talk about philosophy and stars, so the church allowed barbers to do the manual labor. This is why the classic barber pole is red and white. The white represents the bandages, and the red represents the blood. The real story, the fastest surgeon in London. There are many records of these barber surgeons working in city markets. One famous story tells of a barber who was asked to remove a soldier's infected arm. Because there was no way to stop the pain, the barber had to be incredibly fast. He finished the amputation in less than 60 seconds. However, because his tools were dirty and covered in hair and old blood, the patient almost always died of an infection a few days later. You went in for a shave and a haircut, and you might leave without a finger or a toe. It was a gamble with your life every time you sat in that chair. 3. Surgery without anesthesia. The nightmare of pain. This is the part that makes most people close their eyes. Imagine a doctor telling you that he needs to cut deep into your body, but there is nothing to stop the pain. No pills, no gas, nothing. This was the reality of every single surgery in the Middle Ages. The tactic of speed. Because the pain was so terrible, the best surgeon was not the most careful one. He was the fastest one. If a surgeon was slow, the patient would die from the shock of the pain. The only anesthesia they had was a piece of wood for the patient to bite on, or perhaps a large cup of strong wine. Sometimes they used a sleeping sponge soaked in herbs like opium, but it rarely worked well. The real story, the operation of King Louis XIV. Even kings were not safe. King Louis XIV of France suffered from a very painful anal fistula, a skin problem. His surgeon, Charles-François Felix, had to perform a surgery that was famous for being impossible. Felix practiced on 75 poor people first, many of whom died, to make sure he was fast enough. Finally, he operated on the king. The king had to stay perfectly still while the surgeon cut him with a specially designed knife. The king survived, but the stories of his screams during the operation were famous across Europe. For the average person, a surgery like this was often a death sentence of pure agony. It's hard to imagine the bravery or the fear of those patients. If you are thankful for modern medicine, please like the video and subscribe to 5-Point Historian. We have 2 more terrifying reasons to stay away from medieval doctors. 4. Bizarre and poisonous medicines. If you survived the bloodletting and the barber, the doctor would give you a medicine. Today we use science to make pills. In the Middle Ages, they used whatever was in the trash or the garden. Medieval medicine was a mix of plants, prayers, and things that were actually poisonous. The signature of nature. Doctors believed that if a plant looked like a part of the body, it could heal that part. For example, because a walnut looks like a brain, they thought walnuts could cure headaches. But they also used much scarier things. They used crushed emeralds for the rich, and for the poor, they used things like dried toad skin or even human bone powder. The real story, the deathly drink of mercury. One of the most dangerous medicines was mercury. Doctors called it quicksilver and thought it was a magical liquid. They gave it to people to drink for skin problems or stomach pain. We now know that mercury is a deadly poison that destroys the brain and the kidneys. Many people who had a simple cold were given mercury tea by their doctor. They didn't die from the cold, they died from the cure. Another common medicine for deep wounds was hot oil or even hot metal. They would pour boiling oil directly into an open wound to clean it. The pain and the damage were permanent. 5. The urine wheel, the taste of diagnosis. How did a medieval doctor know what was wrong with you? He didn't have x-rays or blood tests. Instead, he looked at your urine. This was the primary tool for every doctor, and they took it very seriously. The urine wheel. Every doctor carried a chart called a urine wheel. This chart had 20 different colors of urine, from clear to bright red or dark green. The doctor would look at the patient's sample and compare the color to the wheel, but he didn't stop at looking. To be a good doctor, he had to smell the urine, and in many cases, he had to taste it. The real story, the sweet death, or diabetes. There is a real historical reason for this. In the Middle Ages, doctors noticed that some patients' urine was very sweet, like honey. By tasting it, they could identify what we now call diabetes. However, they didn't know how to treat it. They would see the sweet urine and tell the patient they had too much heat in their body, and then, you guessed it, they would take their blood. The urine wheel was used for everything. If your urine was too yellow, they thought you were angry. If it was too dark, they thought you were sad. This science led to thousands of wrong diagnoses. People were treated for the wrong illnesses using the wrong medicines, and the doctor's taste test was the only thing deciding if you lived or died. The Middle Ages were a time of great faith, but they were also a time of great medical horror. Doctors truly wanted to help, but without the knowledge of germs or chemistry, they were often more dangerous than the plague. From the barber's chair to the poisonous mercury drinks. A visit to the doctor was a journey into pain and uncertainty. We should all be very happy that we live in the 21st century. Thank you for joining me for this look at the scariest part of history. Which of these 5 reasons was the most shocking to you? Would you rather have a barber cut your hair or your leg? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing your thoughts and I reply to as many as I can. If you enjoyed this bloody history lesson, please like and subscribe to 5 Point Historian. We bring you 5 fascinating points from history every single week. Stay healthy, stay curious, and I will see you in the next video.